Hello friends, I'm Joseph and this is HoS Sound. We started HoS Sound and its podcast series with one main intention: to help artists, promoters, record label owners, playlist curators and others in the music industry share their message and views with the world. We hope that you will get inspired by their stories, experiences and work, and that by spending time with them at home, you will also get to know them as people. Without further ado, let's welcome today's guest. Daniela, in art, Terr, is a producer, DJ and co-owner of the record label Clash Lion. Originally from Belo Horizonte in Brazil, she moved to Barcelona and lately Berlin to continue pursuing her artistic vision. Terr is becoming a household name of the current dance music, with a string of releases on Phantasy Sound, Permanent Vacation, Correspondant, Hotflush, her own Clash Lion and even a remix for Tiga and Audion on Turbo. We chat with Daniela about her artistic path, going from being interested in rock to honing her craft for electronic, feeling home in Berlin and connecting with its artist community. As we discover the story behind founding Clash Lion together with Ocin and Daniel Watts, Terr shares her thoughts on how friendship and working relationship with other record label owners and artists continuously helps her develop. Daniela's decade-long work in the studio is the foundation for her progression, but it's probably her capacity to read the crowd and empathize with people which makes her so human and special. Enjoy this chat with Terr. Daniela, thanks so much for being with us. Welcome to HoS Sound.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Nice. And I know we're just chatting. You are now in Barcelona and you live in Berlin. My question is how are you living this lockdown?
Well, my lockdown, to be very honest, it's at the beginning I was very scared because caught me on a very strange moment that I was in South Africa and I was in the farm, in the isolated farm. I was taking a time off, no internet, anything. And I just was caught by surprise. Someone on the farm just told me that Europe was going to be on a lockdown and I had to go back really quickly before that I expected. And I was super scared as I didn't have internet. When I got to the airport of Cape Town, my telephone was bling, 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 bling of messages. And everybody asking me you have to come back and this kind of things. And I was super scared. And when I landed in Berlin was actually the last day that was okay to land in Germany. Well, I was super lucky.
Wow.
The first thing I did when I dropped my luggage in my flat in Berlin was to go to the supermarket. And when I went there, the shelves were empty.
Wow.
And I was not really understanding what was going on. And I was alone, not really alone, but I was not able to see my friends because everybody was super scared and nobody was seeing each other. And I was in the situation because I have no family in Berlin. And, and I was to be honest, for around 10 days, I was in shock, not really understand what was going on. And I saw many artists saying they were being productive and this kind of things. And this actually was making me feel kind of bad because I was not being able to be productive at all. I was not being able to think about music or anything. I was just so worried about what's going on, what's going to happen to the world. I was not willing to work because I didn't know. I was not able to understand what was that about. Yeah. And then slowly I was going back to normal after this 10 days of shock and fear. And after this, I was slowly going back and then trying to do those things that people are recommending, like yoga in your house. And then I was lucky enough to be in Germany, Berlin. That was one of the countries that could handle better the situation. I was very grateful to be there, and they supported the artists there, and I was feeling more secure, and we were able to go out because actually there was never a lockdown in Germany, even though there was like some heavy restrictions, like you could only go out on pairs or something like this, but you could still go into parks. And I was getting like more calm, and slowly I was able to go back to music and go back to my creative process. And then I could transform this feeling and everything to inspiration and creativity. And this is the point that I am now.
Yeah, it's very interesting what you say, because like everybody reacts very differently, and it certainly like it's a situation where most of the world is in panic mode, so everybody kind of shuts down. I think our instinct is like holy shit, like what should I do? Especially because what you said is very interesting, that like we feel all alone when we are disconnected, that you cannot see your family, you cannot see your friends, you're like locked in the house. If you're lucky, you have some good flatmates, but still, like, it feels like, oh, holy shit, the world is gonna end, I'm gonna die alone. You know, it's very, very interesting how, people react in different ways. But yeah, I'm happy for you that you actually got to go back into the creativity and you pick yourself up. That's super important. Was there? I saw that like a couple of things in your social media that you did. I think a Q&A with Phantasy Sound, which is like one of the record label you released on, for people who don't know it. But you did a Q&A with people. Like, did that make you feel more connected with people? Like perhaps doing these sessions online where you could hang out with people, at least virtually?
Yeah, anything that, during this time that I was willing to do almost things like interviews and stuff like that would connect me with people. But I was not really willing to do like this bedroom DJ sessions. I didn't do any of them. I just did the United with Stream, that a huge stream platform. Actually, I was one of the first inviters for do this. But I did this to support Berlin club scene.
Yeah.
But anything like interviews, like podcasts and mixes and the stuff, like anything to connect to my audience and people who follow me, like I think would be really interesting to keep doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. And yeah, I think that's probably one of the best things that we all experienced in the lockdown, is this thing of the technology really helped us stay connected with other people, really feel that missing human connection. I almost think like, what if this thing happened 50 years ago? Pretty much. God. Yeah, imagine like no internet. Like, yeah, it's great that we were able at least to see people like on at least on a screen.
This is something interesting what happened like that. People, for example, my family is in Brazil.
Yeah.
My closest people are in Brazil and in Spain. And I felt more connected to my mother and my brother during the pandemic than on the last years that I was living in Europe, because we are not actually, because you take for granted, like, and then like this pandemic happened and I was like just scared of what was going to happen, that I basically speak to them almost every day, like to my family, to my mother, for example, because you never know, and then like I really feel close to my family in Brazil right now, because after the pandemic we are really like, you want to know what's going on with them, because like my mother, for example, she's 60 something, and she's isolated somewhere, and I'm really worried about, and I wanted to know what's going on, what she's doing, to support her. And it was like there was like this beautiful thing about reconnecting to people that you were not really paying attention. And this was a positive thing about this whole thing.
Yeah,
And,
very much. Yeah.
and technology like just could do that, because this is a horrible disease that it don't allow people to get close to each other, to give a hug, or like even like give a handshake or something like. And then you have the technology now, like to replace some things that is obviously is not the same.
Yeah.
Like it is what it is right now. But anyway.
Indeed, yes. And especially, I don't know how, because we just interacted for the first time, but I personally, I'm an extrovert, so I really get energy from being around people. And when we miss this part, it really hits you hard. Like when you can't hug people anymore, you can't shake hands. Sounds like such a small thing, but it makes a big difference in our lives, especially if you're a person who craves these interactions.
Yes, it's tough, but I believe it's not gonna be for a long time. So we have to stay positive. That is just going to, it's the moment, and then we have the technology. So
indeed, yes. And let's talk about something more. More nice. Like I read a bit about your kind of your biography. So you are from Belo Horizonte, if I'm not mistaken, in Brazil.
Yeah.
And you were born there, and you moved to Barcelona at some point in your life, and eventually to Berlin. Like, how did that? Why did you move to Barcelona? What made you move to Europe in the first place?
At the time, I was in this duo called Digitaria. With my partner, and we're still working together, Daniel Watts.
Yeah.
And we were in Digitaria, and we were playing all over the world with this duo. And we are having like lots of shows in Europe. Like we are playing like in Brixton, O2 Academy at the time with the HoS Creations crew. Like,
of course, yeah.
Yeah, and DC10 and all these like big parties like Warehouse Project, just to name a few. And our schedule was really busy, and we decided just to do this step of coming to Europe, and like as we always wanted to do that, we just felt like was the right time to do it.
Yeah.
And it was 2013, I believe.
Yeah.
And since then, and we thought Barcelona could be like less, like the weather is easy to get used to at first, as a first step. The language is not hard for us. As a Spanish, you can really learn. Actually, we already speak English, so English also would be like another option. So, but Spanish, like, it's really easy to learn for us that coming from Portuguese. But like here, you have like a very similar Latin atmosphere, so wouldn't be like so shocking or anything like that.
Got it. And so Daniel, who is, I guess, your co-founder as well for your label Clash Lion, he's also from Brazil?
Yeah, he's also from Brazil. Like, we've been working together for 17 years.
Wow.
Collaborating. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm going to ask a few questions around that as well. But so you moved to Barcelona, and that was 2013, and then eventually Berlin 2 years ago, roughly.
Yeah. Almost 2 years ago that I went to Berlin, and I went by myself.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy there.
Yeah. It's an amazing place. I love Berlin. I have a lot of friends there too, and really feels like sometimes it's like amusement park for DJs, because everything is like, you go to a lot of clubs and the clubs don't shut down.
Yeah.
It is amazing. Was there anything that particularly shocked you in a positive way when you got to Berlin and you were like, wow, this is fantastic? I know you played there before, but when you moved there.
I get this feeling all the time. I still don't get used to it. Like, I feel so amazed with the city, like all the time. And also, I think it's a really funny city. Like, I get like this situation I see, like all the around me, like, and I get like it's a funny city with funny situations, like because there's like it's absurd and also surreal what things that happen there, like
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just a incredible city with very spontaneous, creative, and incredible people, like also really crazy people. Like you can find all sorts of people with, like not only crazy ones, but like people are really interesting. Like there is a reason why people choose to live in Berlin, and
Yeah,
I
indeed.
don't know.
Yeah, if it's like a really big creative hub, and yes, I mean it's amazing. Like, so many artists there, especially.
Yeah, and it's just the nature there. It's almost surprisingly beautiful, especially in the summer. Berlin is in the summer is just wonderful and colorful, and people are so happy. And you have these lakes to go, and
Yeah,
people just feel just free to do whatever they want. Like so, and it's so beautiful. I love the city, and it's just not enough from Berlin. I mean, I'm just doing everything to. I don't have any plans to leave Berlin so soon.
it's amazing. And was there particularly like so maybe let me ask this question this way: did you form a group of people who are just in your kind of music, or you have a broader, close group of people who do other stuff, maybe other types of music or other jobs?
In Berlin,
Yeah, in Berlin, yes.
actually, most of my friends are not from the music world.
Hmm.
People that I hang out are people that like people that I used to know in Brazil that moved to Berlin, like some, people.
Yeah.
And also there is like this very interesting situation about my building. There is a community of artists. It's not a community, it's like a regular flat,
Yeah.
like any other building. It's not a commune or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
those things. It's not like that. But like the landlord is a very interesting guy. He's a philosopher, a retired teacher, and he chooses, like, as his life is that building, he chooses like interesting people to live there. So all people that live there, like they're quite my average age, and all of them like are involved with art. Like some of them are painters, piano players, or I don't know, jewelry designers, or I don't
Really?
know,
Yeah.
something. And everybody helps each other, like, and everybody's kind of friends to each other because there are a lot of parties there. He promotes the party, like the landlord, on the backyard or in his bookshop that is in the first floor during the winter, and during the summers in the backyard. Like there are a lot of parties in my building, so we get to know each other and we get to help each other. So I hang out a lot with my neighbors as well because yeah, they're close and they are there. And sometimes like they just knock on my door and say like, oh, can you just look after my child just a little bit, like I have to go shopping and I just going to take care of that child, like, and that adorable child that
Yeah.
I'm kind of used to. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying like it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I also hang out with people like that do music. Often I go to have lunch or dinner with, for example, like Jennifer Cardini, like Curses, or John from Fantasy, like people that I'm somehow somewhat like involved with my work, like
Yeah.
and we sometimes like we just like write a message to each other and do something like, oh, let's have a lunch, or even I invite to come to my building, to the backyard, and do something like cook something or do something nice.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's like, yeah, it's interesting for people who move from their home country to another country, because I think when they find this group of people and they feel supported, they feel a bit more close to other people. Like that makes you feel home, makes you feel like, okay, I like this place, I want to stay here. You kind of
Yeah.
recreate your family in a way.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing to know. And so when you started music, so I know you had previous experience in, if I read correctly, punk rock bands. So you were doing a different genre, and then eventually you moved to electronic music, computer music. How did you how did you see yourself when you started doing music in the punk instrumental bands? And how much do you think your perception of yourself as an artist changed when you started DJing or doing electronic music?
I don't know, this thing about the punk grunge, actually it was more like grunge stuff. Like I was like, so actually it's almost the same. I mean, I was like huge fan of, but it was like in high school.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I was like huge fan of Nirvana and this kind of bands, like even like Iggy Pop and the Stooges and this kind of things, like three chords. I was not a really good guitar player, like so I was like looking for easy things to play, and yeah, and then was just thing for fun. But I really loved to play and interpretate and sing and this kind of things. And then when I was around like 17, I just heard this for the first time. I remember like I think was Sunglasses at Night from
Oh yeah,
Tiga.
Tiga, yeah, of course. Tiga, amazing, yeah.
And I was like, this blew my mind. And together with this, like it was like
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra. And at the same time, I was like starting to enjoy these raves, like trance raves.
Right.
Even though like I didn't understand like how the music never ended. I didn't know how to work it, you know, like I was like, oh, this music never ends, you know, like this, how it's this work. I didn't know, I didn't realize that the DJ was mixing it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I didn't know how it was. But then like I was actually like feeling like electronic music. I was like very interested about it when
Yeah.
when I just was introduced to Electroclash. Was when I was like, that blew my mind. I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And this is it was not about just the music. It's like a whole lifestyle. Like, and then I started to dress differently, to behave differently, and you know, like I just wanted to be one of those club kids and stuff. And then everything changed, and I started to get involved with the production and stuff, and going to clubs and DJ and stuff.
Right. And so Electroclash, and that I guess it's connected with the Clash Lion, the name of the label.
Actually, no.
Wow. Okay.
But
Okay.
it was a good coincidence. Yeah, it's a Clash Lion is an anagram from one of the owners, shower scene.
Okay. 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 So is that what is that? Is that a movie or?
No, you Shao Xin is one of the owners. The Shao Xin is the owner of the label also.
Okay. 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 Yeah.
If you mix the, you know, because he was the one that was pushing the label from the beginning, you know, like let's do a label, let's do a label, let's do a label together.
Wow.
And we were just like making anagrams, and you know, like this name came, and we just thought that was super cool, and we had like this clash word, and I really loved it. Yeah.
I'm connecting it now with his name,
Yeah.
and Amazing. Okay. Interesting. So, okay. So just going back, and I'll ask about the label, but going back to your roots. So what year was that when you started producing? Was it before you moved to Europe? I guess so,
Oh
because.
no, I was like just I was very young. This
Mhm.
at this point, it was in the Electroclash when Electroclash was booming in Brazil. That was like at this time there was a delay. That
Right.
nowadays there's not a delay anymore. Like things are just like immediately.
Because of internet.
Yeah, but at this time it was about around 2002.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So 2002, you start producing and making more electronic music, DJing.
No, I started to enjoy and to be
Okay.
involved with the scene of my city. And around 2003, 2004, I started to take this like interest on production. In 2004, I started to take this professionally and producing. Like I started to really producing at 2004
Got
was
it.
when I met Daniel. And Daniel was the one who taught me the first steps of production, like on like Cakewalk, Reason, Nuendo, and this kind of thing. Like he was the one who years later we went, I think it was 2006, was Ableton Live. And yeah, and I still stick to Ableton Live till nowadays. I think it's the easiest, I think it's the ones that flows better.
I love Ableton. It's yeah, it's an amazing product.
But
Without
I've
it,
been through all of them.
yeah. Yeah, I think Ableton. It's the amazing thing is also the session part, which is basically allows you to play live very easily. To also, if you want to record stuff and jam a little bit, even just with your computer, it's very easy to record a track.
Yeah, I think it's very intuitive, and I think it's there's like some pros, like the logics, the sounds, and the plugins are, can be better.
Yeah.
The dynamics of constructing the music, which is my specialty,
Mm.
I think is Ableton is the best one. So I still with the Ableton, like I'm not gonna change it.
Yes. Okay. Makes sense. I'm gonna ask about that as well in a second. So let's talk about so you met with Daniel in around 2004, and then the idea of the label came much after, right? So Shal eventually had this idea of the label, and you launched 2017 or maybe a bit earlier, 2017, or you launched a few not so long ago.
Not so long ago.
No, I'm asking like when did you launch the label? So you started producing in 2004,
Yeah,
and
the label was just recently. I think it was 2017 when
yeah,
we released the first
Metric.
was Metric.
Yeah,
I think it was 2017. Makes sense.
yeah. Wow. Okay, amazing. So you started producing. You were playing as a duo with Daniel, and you started traveling around the world, Europe, Ibiza, other cities, London as well. And then eventually, like, what brought you to start the label? So Shal was a friend of you and Daniel that you met at some point in your path.
Yeah, we were living three of us together, and actually, Shao is my ex-husband, and
Wow. Okay.
that's why.
Yes. Okay. And then you decided to go with Clash Lion, and how did you get Maetric? Is a
He's a
it,
really Shao. His name is Nicholas.
yeah,
He's been playing and has this releasing an album like for years.
right.
He has
So
this
new Eric,
close relationship with Marcel Plex,
yeah.
and they are like friends even before like Marcel Plex was Marcel Plex was when Marcel
Was
Plex
Maetric.
was just Metric before like he got this huge blow,
Yeah.
and then they have been friends like for ages.
Yes, amazing. Yeah, yeah. I really esteem his music. I think it's like it's not something that I play for myself because I play a different style, but I love his production. Is a great artist. Like it's really really cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Especially the Maetic stuff. I think I got to know him with the album on Cocoon in 2012, the I think the one with the Reason, I think. But anyways, I mean, it was like mind-blowing stuff. Really, really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it's great that you guys brought him back to the Matrix stuff with the label.
Yeah, it was like, it was a mission.
Yeah.
Mm.
Congrats. Amazing. And so Daniel, you are still partners, friends, basically you work together a lot. And and I know recently you also did another track together for a compilation. And was there like how do you work together? I mean, of course you have the label side, but for production, do you split the way you do music? So for instance, you take care of something, he takes care of something else, or you do everything together, like you sit down together and you make music?
Yeah, we've been, like we are so used to the way we communicate doing music because it's been like such a long time, and he's the guy that taught me to sequence like my first kick. And
Right.
that's the reason like that I am in Barcelona right now, because like, for example, in Berlin I have my home studio with like the sense that I need to do my drafts, but it's
Right.
not like the final drafts. And here in Barcelona, I'm here actually because like I still have a place here. Is Daniel's house, Daniel's and
Yeah.
Nicola's house, and there's like lots of lots of equipments here, like like very professional studio. And actually I come here to finish the tracks, so I sit with Daniel and we just like finish the tracks like with more professional and analog stuff that I don't have these resources in Berlin with me, that I just couldn't bring with me, and I don't have like the space, I don't have like the studio. And I just, before the pandemic, I was just coming to Barcelona at least 1 week a month. I mean, like basically living between Berlin and Barcelona just to be on the
Right.
tracks, like finishing the tracks on a more professional way. Like, I mean, the equalization, the compression, this final parts, like the sound,
Yeah.
the engineering part. And because my demand on on production is really high, I've been doing like a lot of things, so that was very necessary for me to spend like lots of time here in Barcelona. But now with the pandemic, like it's impossible. So when the borders opened, like when I thought that I was secure to come here, I just came, and that's why I'm spending this time here, like working on music.
Got it. Yeah,
You know what I
makes
mean?
sense. So essentially, in your production process, and now we're gonna go deeper into that. Like you essentially conceptualize your tracks. You start creating them in Berlin in your home studio, I guess, or your studio. And eventually, when you want to finalize it, maybe is it before or after the track has been signed by a label? So you finalize it after you're gonna release it. If I guess, okay.
I have the I have the labels that already trust me. I have very close relationship with the owners of the labels that I'm
Yeah.
going to release. I talk very closely to Jennifer Cardini, to Errol Alcom, and to Benjamin Frolich, that these three labels are the labels that I release most. That is
Yeah.
Permanent Vacation Fantasy and Correspondent, and also my own label. So
Yes.
I have like I feel comfortable enough to show them drafts and
Perfect.
to tell them what's going on. And so they know my process, they know very close what I do, and they know that that maybe this sounding rough at the moment. And so I feel comfortable to show them, and even to not to show them,
Yes.
because they already trust me as a producer.
Got it. Got it. So essentially, if I get it correctly, so you create the tracks in your studio in Berlin, then you probably show them to your most trusted labels, the owners of the most trusted label. And maybe, I don't know, Errol from Fantasy tells you, I really like this track, Daniela. I think we should release it maybe in, let's say, October this year. And then you're like, okay, perfect. Let's finalize the 2-3 tracks for the new EP. and then you normally would fly to then Barcelona, where Daniel would help you to finalize the track.
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes I show like a sample, like you know, a minute, and say like, oh, this is what I'm doing, and he say like, oh, I really like it, you know, like I'll just carry on that, because at the moment I'm doing an album for Fantasy.
Wow. Amazing.
And then I just, instead of showing like the whole track, I'm doing like, you know, like showing samples, like, you know, 2-minute samples, like I said, oh, these, what do you think about these? And like hearing, for example, Errol's feedback, because he has like a huge knowledge on music, and like it's so I feel so privileged of knowing what he's thinking about what I'm doing. He always has something intelligent and to say about it, and that can make my work better. So it's always interesting to hear what he has to say. Also Jennifer and also Benjamin, so because they are 3 very smart minds on music.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I guess like this is the trust you built over the years. So you trust each other, and that kind of, you have this kind of relationship where you have a personal relationship, you have a work relationship, and the trust allows you to be a bit more free and say, hey, this is a draft of what I'm doing, and they suggest something maybe to improve it, or a slightly different direction that helps you also improve your own production when you release it on the label. It's very cool, and I wanted to speak about a specific track that, and it's actually the track that got me to know you, to know your music, which is Energy Sync, which you released on Fantasy a couple of months ago. And I really liked it because it was something that reminded me vaguely, and tell me if I'm completely off in your mind, of Donna Summer, I Feel Love, which has been arranged by a great producer. And so I think the vibe for me reminded me of the dance music from the 70s, something like that, but also with a more warm kick. I'm talking about the club edits specifically, and it's something that it's really playful as well.
I think, oh, sorry to interrupt you.
No, go for it.
But I think you're telling about Tale of Devotion, right?
No, I think Energy Sync, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, this one that I think that reminds me, Donna Summer, that I have to agree with you. It's Tale of Devotion and Energy Sync.
Interesting. I'm checking my Spotify because I saved it, and I think it's Energy Sync Club Mix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because this Energy Sync reminds me more like, you know, like this synth pop dance music, you know, like it's more inspired on that. Mm-hmm. But Tale of Devotion is more like, you know, like disco vibes.
Right.
Then
very interesting. I'm gonna check out again Tale of Devotion, which I think are both Tale of Devotion and Energy Sync are on Fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so do you think, maybe talking about Energy Sync, like so there are vocals on the track as well. Did you write and record the vocals yourself, or you work with someone else?
No, I write and record myself.
Amazing, beautiful. And what was the process that went into thinking about the lyrics and recording it? Did you record in the studio with someone else, or like was just you in your room, perhaps thinking about it?
Being in my room. I have just a nice microphone, some, you know, like those, I don't know the name in English of these, like to isolate the noise.
Right, yeah.
In my flat in Berlin, like with the good sound card, and you know, like just in my house in Berlin, like I just have to wait. As I don't have a studio there, like I just have to wait a time that the neighbors are quiet. So I usually do this at night. Wow. And I do this. And the process of the lyrics, I record the bass. I take a bounce, a render of the bass, and I get to listen when I'm walking in the streets and something like until something come up on my mind, and I start to write. For example, when I'm on the metro, or something like if something comes up, I always have like a pen or and a paper, and I just started to write because I listen repeatedly until something comes up.
Yeah.
And when it comes up, like I have to be ready and
write it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So usually you write the music first and the lyrics after, and then
Yeah.
you write, and then you kind of create the lyrics inspired by the music you have just made, if I got it correctly.
What?
So you think about the lyrics after you made the music, and the lyrics are inspired by the music. You think about something you want to sing on that music.
Yeah, I do the bass.
Yeah.
And actually, in the moment that I'm doing the bass, I do a melody of vocal. I'm already with the melody of vocal in my head, but then transforming this on lyrics is another step.
Right.
And then transforming this on lyrics in English for me, it's another step. So because first I'm doing like this blah 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 stuff, and then I have to put words in English, which is not my native language, so it's a little bit more complicated. And then I have to do some research and stuff, so it's a process. Sometimes comes more spontaneously, but sometimes like takes a lot of effort. Depends. And yeah.
Depends, yeah, on the moment, and then I guess the inspiration. But did you train to sing, or it just came naturally and you started doing that yourself?
No, I don't train very often. Like, yeah, I should, but you know, like I really like to. Actually, I could say that I train because, like, for example, when I'm at home, I'm always singing.
Wow.
Like, I'm always singing. I'm always listening to music. I must be a very annoying neighbor because, like, I put my music very loud or something, like not very loud. You know, I'm not unrespectful, especially like I really respect like the 10 limits. And but you know, I like to put like some, you know, corny or retro 80s songs like Madonna and stuff, and just sing, especially during this quarantine.
Yeah.
I'm just basically singing the whole day.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. And I mean, maybe you are like a very nice neighborhood for people who love the music. Like, yeah, wow, amazing.
Yeah.
They have like a very unique soundtrack for their life.
Yeah.
That's nice. And so, okay, so you normally record the tracks, and then eventually you write the lyrics. And when you sit down to the music, do you wait for inspiration, or you have some kind of routine that gets you in the mood of doing music?
I'm kind of the person that waits for the inspiration. Like, I'm not very disciplined person.
Yeah.
But sometimes I have to, you know, something that needs to be done. Like, there was like this time in the quarantine that was like very hard to work and to produce, and then like I was requested to do a remix for Tiga,
Right.
and this had to be done.
Of course.
You
Yeah.
know.
And then you need to find inspiration.
And then like, especially like this lots of remixes requests that I have, but usually my originals like comes from a place of inspiration.
Got it. Yes. Yeah. Is there anything? So, for instance, they asked you to do a remix for Tiga, and is there any routine, anything you do to get more inspired? Maybe going for a walk or listening to some particular music, meditating. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I do meditation. What else? I've been trying to read a lot on actually something that I was not doing before the quarantine very often, and this habit that I really did back in the days, because I was in university for literature and linguistics, and so I used to be a reader, and then like traveling, DJing stuff, I was not reading so much.
Mm-hmm.
But after the pandemic, like I was back reading a lot, and this like clears your mind. And also I've been passionate about biking. It's something that makes me feel really good. So
Nice.
I've been biking around Berlin almost every day that I'm there. So I think it's something that has been very helpful.
Nice. Okay. It's so you have a bit of physical activities, reading that kind of gets you in the mood. And like, do you think, is there anything else that you maybe do to keep a balance in your life? For example, like when you spend a lot of time in the studio, you feel you want to disconnect. Do you tend to hang out with people, your friends, or you go alone and you walk?
I like to, there's like this backyard of my building that I'm telling a lot about my building because it's a really important part of my life. I like to take care of the plants there. Like there are a lot of plants. I like to put some water there, like to take the dry ones, to cut like the leaves, and also like to clean the backyard, like because I like to see the clean, because if it's dirty, like makes me crazy. So I've been cleaning the backyard. I've been.
I think your neighbor would love you. Like, you know, they're like, Daniela, please stay here. You know, we'll pay your rent.
Yeah, I've been cleaning it. Like I get I don't know the name of what's the name of the thing?
Oh, the Hoover for, or
not the Hoover, like that you do here, like with the leaves and stuff. Like I don't know. There's the mop and the other one.
The brush, I think.
Yeah, I'm always brushing like the floor and something like this because it's a good physical activity, and I really, really like to see it clean.
Yes, amazing. That's great. Wow. Okay. And did you? So in terms of like relationships in life, not just about love relationships, but friendships as well. Like, do you feel that like sometimes it's hard because maybe you have a lot of studio time? It's hard to keep your friendships or love relationships alive, or it's something easy that you have your balance?
Yeah, I think regarding to love relationships, I think yes. Regarding to friend relationships, I don't think so.
Yeah. So yes, meaning it's harder with love relationships, or
at least since I came to Berlin, I think so. I mean, like it's not actually something that
it's not a priority.
I'm looking for because I've been like too focused on my career.
Yes.
So, or simply it's not happening, and then like I've just been like a happy single lady, like brushing the backyard.
Why not?
Yeah.
So in your talking about maybe like let's call them work relationships, but I guess some of them are also friendships. But the relationship you established with the owners of the labels you release on, for instance, Errol, like, is this something that happened by chance, or is it because you or them had an interest in working with the other person? So
sorry, I don't understand your question.
I realize that like I put it in a confusing way. So the relationships you have with the owners of the labels started as a friendship, or it started because you wanted to work together and then evolved into a kind of a friendship?
Yeah, it started as a work relationship and then became other things. Like we were, developing this like with the time. And I was lucky enough that all the people that I work with are very nice. Like now, like I really feel like, have a good, really, really good feelings about them, all of them.
Yes, got it. Yeah. Probably because if you're still in a whatever kind of relationship with them, it's because you find nice to work with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, very interesting. And was there anything that perhaps in your life you felt it really helped your career? Maybe it was a release, maybe a label, maybe a person you met that helped you move to the next level. I mean, of course, Daniel, I guess, is super important for you.
Yeah.
Anything else, even an event that happened?
Yeah, I mean, like the importance and the support of these two people in my life, that was Daniel and Nicholas.
Right. Yeah.
It's super important for me, like not only like the technical support they offer me, like, and also the moral, and and they are one of my closest people I have. So I'm really grateful to them. And also, I think my turning point was, um, yeah, in the beginning, I had this management which was really supported to me, like this guy called Kier. At this time, my project was not really making any money and stuff, and he was like being very supportive to me. And we are not working together anymore, but in the beginning, he was very important for my career.
Yeah.
And then I think my turning point was two things that happened like in the same time. That was my EP Tale of Devotion and entering on my agency, that which is Temporary Secretary, which is an amazing agency. And this made everything like turn, going, making everything going really well.
Right. Gig wise, I guess. So you started aiming more gigs and
Yeah,
traveling.
because before that, I had a like huge feedback on the social networks, but not really gig wise. I mean, like gigs were not really happening, just like here and there, la, da, da. But then, like after going to Temporary Secretary, like the gigs were, I was getting a routine of gigs like every weekend. And
Yes. And that was so Tale of Devotion happened before Temporary Secretary or other way around?
I think it was on actually more or less on the same time, because it was Tale of Devotion. It was like on the summer, a little bit before the summer of 2018, and I got on the Temporary Secretary on the summer of 2018. So it was almost in the same time. So it was very important. And then I have like this Dixon, that is the owner of my agency, and all those guys were playing this music, this song, like all over the place. So it made this track spread
Yes.
uh, everywhere. I mean, like on the underground dance music world. So it was one of the reasons that I was, that things were going good for me at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I mean, like hard work and work pays off eventually. Like that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to hear that. Like now things before COVID at least were working really well. Um, I have a question. Like, is more like something about you. You wrote in a post on Instagram, I think, or Facebook that I think it was about a gig you had in South Africa, one of the latest gigs before before the lockdown, and you were saying my job is to make music and make people dance, and I simply love it, which I find it really really beautiful. It's something that's the artist's job, and is that something you would say to another artist who maybe is thinking that their art is not significant enough, is not worth enough because they are just having, making people have fun? And let me explain why I'm asking this question, because I think a lot of artists, including myself, during the lockdown felt like art has a very little value compared to maybe people who are saving lives, were doing something that is perceived as more valuable in the moment because it's more needed than art. But I eventually think that art is really important for people because it's really big part of the majority of people's life. So I wanted to ask you, like, is there anything you would say to someone who is thinking maybe they are an artist and the art is not really significant or worthy?
I think more than ever, I mean, art is one of the most essential and important things, like in the human culture. I mean, not it's not something. It's something like, you know, like you're gonna go back on time and you're gonna find, you know, like art is something that it's about the human nature. You know, we need music. It's almost like food and air. It's something very necessary, like the tribes of indigenous people or something, like doesn't matter what society or whatever, like people need music. People are going to do music. People are going to go beating on tables or woods or something, and they're going to make music because it's part of the human nature. And obviously there is a difference here about, like, you know, you feel that, oh no, because it's more important to save lives or something. No, it's totally different thing, you know. But you know, during this pandemic, got really on your face how art is important. Because like what would be about us, like, you know, being isolated or something. Like people are still some parts in the world that they are not allowed to go out. What they gonna do if they cannot watch a serial, a movie, or listen to music or read a book or something? Like they're gonna get crazy.
Yes.
So was that your question? Or
Totally, yes. Yeah.
And I think it's so important, you know. It's so it doesn't matter what you do, like, you know, like art is you cannot define what art is, like, you know, like can be you know, like a toilet seat, like, you know, like can be like, who's gonna say like what is art? Like it's
the value.
it's there is no boundaries, you know, like it's so yeah. And I think it's really, it's one of the most important things, like about the human.
Yeah, indeed. And thank you for answering the question. I think it's super important for people to also respect that art has a value and has a big importance for humans. It's always been there. It's always been like a relief. And as you said, like for pandemics, it's been really a big relief for a lot of people. Yeah. Couple of last questions toward going toward the wrap up. So what is one of your guilty pleasures tracks? So maybe a track that you never played because maybe you think it's too cheesy or it doesn't fit in a set because it's too hard, whatever. Any track that you really like but you haven't played yet?
Oh, I was telling you before, like one of the things that you know, like lately, that I've been, you know, like I got addicted to something that to these artists that I was never listening before and not really recognizing, like is Madonna.
Wow,
Yeah, I got really addicted to Madonna like on the last months, because I've been paying attention on her on the productions. Like obviously we know that she's not a producer, but you know, like she has like the most amazing producers that money can buy. And I was like particularly interested on this 1992 album Erotica, that has like the Vogue, Deeper and Deeper, and all other hits. And I was just like obsessed about this album, like this 90 vibes and how it sounds and the energy. And I was like even like trying to do some Vogue steps. Like I put some mirror like on my I put the mirror like on my living room. I was trying to do some Vogue steps. Like I would love to play that, but I think I never will.
Yeah. I guess it's
Vogue is amazing.
It's amazing. Was there a particular track that you remember about that album or from Madonna?
Vogue.
Yeah.
Vogue.
I'm gonna check it out. I'm not familiar with that. I think I played an edit from a Madonna track, which is I forgot the name, like da, 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 you know, the
Oh, yeah. This one is it's a sample from ABBA.
yes, exactly. Hang up.
Hang Up. Yeah, I think it's produced by Jacques Lucant. I mean, he's a great producer, like from
Yeah.
Les Ritmes Digitales, I think. If I'm not wrong, I mean, because it's one of the newest ones, like it's not the oldest ones, like, and she bought this sample from ABBA, like for lots of money.
Wow.
Yeah, just to use that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing, but it works really well. Like it sounds like even in a club, it sounds super punchy and powerful. Especially
Mm-hmm.
it blends well with the techno stuff. If you even with a 4/4 kick, it's it gets a bit
Exactly.
cheesy with the voice at some point. But I think I think it's a good experiment. You can test your audience.
Oh my
with,
God. I wish I could play Madonna, but let's see.
maybe one day. I don't know. And one question that I have is like, what is Daniela's secret weapon? Not necessarily with music. Whatever you think is like one of your secret weapon as a person.
Or what do you mean? Like a track that I play that maybe nobody plays or something like that?
Perhaps, or even something personal. Like, I don't know, some people, we ask this question to other people on the show, and some people say my smile, some people say my attitude, some people say my capacity to understand people, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I actually, um, of course, I try to not lose my identity as a DJ when I play, but I play for the people.
Yes.
I really try to please my audience. And and I try to read people, like sometimes I try to read like people, like looking at them and watching them and like seeing their reactions, and like to read what they are expecting and what is going to make them happy, because I'm there to entertain, because like people already have their hard lives and stuff, like, and and people go to parties like just to release the stress and to forget about things. And then I'm not going to be that DJ that's going to just like make a wall between me and the audience, and they're just going to play the coolest song that is going to make me look very cool and very I'm the coolest, I have to prove myself to be really cool. No, I'm there to please the audience. So if I have to be a little bit more open, I mean, in a way, to please the audience, I'm not scared to say like, oh, to someone say like, oh, she's being like a little bit more commercial stuff, but like I just want to make people happy, and that's all.
Yeah. So do you think about yourself as a DJ first or a producer
A
first?
producer, definitely, but I love being a DJ. It's something that I learned, especially on the last years as Terr, but I'm a producer.
Yeah. You're a producer first, and when you produce, you think about how people are gonna enjoy the track, I guess.
Yeah, I even make noises like when I'm doing like the like the break, and I'm producing, like I was like woo.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Just like trying to simulate the people's reaction like on my track or something, and then like I try to dance on the tracks when I'm doing it, and just say like, oh no, this is not gonna go anywhere or something like that. I was going to this situation yesterday. I was very upset because I was thinking that I was not going anywhere, the track that I'm doing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I try to simulate what people are going to react on the dance floor and stuff.
Yes. And was there a moment that you remember from one of your recent gigs where you played one of your tunes and then people really connected with it, and you were like, fuck yes.
It happens very often, and I get really happy about it.
Yeah.
It happens very, very often. I feel very lucky, and And sometimes when the best gig of my best track of the gig is one of my tracks.
Yeah, amazing. Yes, and it's beautiful when your track like really resonates with people, and you get this energy back, and it's like wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. One more question, which is a tradition of the show, and we always ask our guest, what question would you like us to ask to the next guest without knowing who they're going to be?
Oh, this is tricky. Let me think. Um,
If you want, if you want to think about it for a couple of minutes in the meantime, I can ask you, as you might imagine, there is a question for you as well from one of the previous guests. I can ask you that question if you want, and then you're going to ask the question to the next one if you want.
okay. Let me see. Like, did you ask the person, the previous guest, like what they are going to ask me?
Yeah, I did. Yes, yeah, exactly. And the question that they wanted to ask you, not to you personally, but like let's say the question that they said was, what is one of the biggest mistakes of your life? One of the things.
Wow.
It's a tough question, I know.
Wow, this is a tough question, huh?
Yeah. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be the biggest, like, any, let's say, big mistakes that you think back, it was like, wow, that was really like a big thing that perhaps turned into a learning or something you learned about yourself, about the world.
Oh well, this would be easy to say. Like it's underestimate the dangers of the drug abuse that I had to deal with when I was during my 20s. That made a lot of consequences that I'm grateful that I don't have to deal with this anymore because this problem is over.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose, it's something that I don't recommend to people, and to like to mess with drugs.
Yeah.
Or if they do it with conscience and balance.
Yeah.
Because it's something, like this conversation is very old. I'm not going to be like the blah blah blah, but it's just telling like my own experience here.
Yeah, of course. Was that closely related to music, or it was let's say parallel or unrelated to music?
Yeah, the thing is about being on parties all the time during my 20s, like that since my early 20s until the beginning of until the late 20s, like was a period of like abuse and stuff. But actually I was lucky enough to realize that this had to to stop. But some people unfortunately don't have this ability to stop, so yeah, something that I think also could be a mistake, but also it's something that you learn.
Yes.
But I would say that like something that if I could go back in time, I wouldn't be I would go to a different way.
Yeah. Super important. I mean, it's a real issue, real challenge for a lot of people, like, and especially when the environment is kind of presenting the opportunity and like making it very normal for people to take a lot of drugs consistently. I find it very connected with music or in general with entertainment. But I think, yeah, it's a really, thank you for sharing that. It's an important problem to think about.
Yeah, it's getting like more people are more willing to open themselves about health issues, mental health issues among DJs and stuff. And it's really important to share these things, like and now I feel like in this last years with Terr, I feel very mature to be touring the way I'm touring, like taking things like like in a more mature way, so I'm able to do everything and do my routine and in a healthy way. So
yeah. If you feel like giving this word of advice, and of course we can cut it out from the recording in the end, what would you tell someone who might be in the same situation, who might be thinking, oh, maybe I'm taking too much of substances or too frequently? What would you tell them to consider, perhaps, if they think that this is going to get a problem for them?
there's always the bill to pay in the end. Like it's not there's always a consequence.
Yeah, very important. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you. And if you want, like, do you have any question that you would like us to ask the next guest?
Okay. What's the meaning? What makes their life meaningful?
I love it. Yeah. What makes it? Yeah. Amazing. Interesting question. Yeah, can go very deep with that. Thank you. Yeah, Daniela, this has been a great pleasure to have you here, to get to know you and your projects, your music.
It was a pleasure to be here.
Nice. And is there any new projects or latest projects that you want to draw people's attention to if they want to check out more of you? Anything you think is worthy to mention?
I'm just as I told you, I'm working on an album, but I don't know when this is going to be ready because it's still like very slow process, and then the pandemic came and we have to delay everything. So I'm actually on the 7th of August, I have my remix for Tiga versus Audion coming out on Turbo that I'm very proud of.
Amazing.
Being an electro clash kid, it's a life goal, like checked. Like I'm really, really happy with this. And also new releases from my label Clash Lion coming out very soon with this brilliant art called No IP. We are just working on these. I'm gonna have more info about this very soon.
Yeah.
And for now, that's it. And also another collaboration with the Correspondant compilation that they are releasing this from time to time, and they doing like amazing compilations that they go really well. So yes, I think for now it is.
Great. And by all means, I'm writing down the 7th of August for the Tigas remix. And if you have anything, as soon as you have dates, if you want us to share it, we will be super happy to reshare the album, the compilation on Correspondent, the new EP on Clash Lion. So let us know, and we will reshare it with pleasure.
Amazing.
Yes. Thank you so much. And it was nice to meet you as well.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, guys, this is Joseph, and this is the outro. If you really like the content, I wanted to ask you, please consider liking us on Instagram or leaving a review on the podcast. Whether you're using that on Apple is very useful for us, and your comment makes all of our work worth it. Also, if you have any guests that you really would like us to chat with, let us know. We take any suggestion or any feedback, and we use it to improve and direct what we're gonna do next. And if you're a producer and you're interested in masterclasses with artists such as Scalameria, VSK, Romek, Lag, and many more, you can now check our website homosound.co.uk. We have plenty of classes and more are coming as well. So brace yourself, you're gonna get a lot of content. And one last thing, shout out for Vlad for editing this podcast and Declan for creating the content that you all see on social media and on our channels. Plus, of course, big thanks to Juliana, Flaminia, Alessandro and Rick from TapeFeed for all the rest of the work at HoS Sound. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time at HoS Sound.